There are few feelings that compare to the jolt of exhilaration that comes when a filmmaker has played out the story and nails the landing with a twist in the tale which leaves us reeling and reconsidering everything that we've just seen. Now sure, the last-minute throw-it-in twist is the bane of many a director, but good twists are set up throughout the preceding film. So let's look at a few that fall into that latter category, eh? Because I am Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 10 subtle details that make movie twists obvious. Number 10. Verbal gives the game away, The Usual Suspects. We couldn't leave out one of the best twists in cinema history, could we? Yes, the quality of films on this list may very much vary, and a lot of lesser flicks have been saved from the bargain bin by virtue of a clever last act reveal. However, no one could claim that The Usual Suspects is anything less than a stellar thriller even before its mind-blowing ending. Taking cues from Quentin Tarantino's twisty then recent debut Reservoir Dogs, The Usual Suspects anchors its clever unreliable narrator reveal with an effective performance from Kevin Spacey as unassuming small-time crook Verbal Kint. Hell, the film's ending was so clever, half the cast didn't even know the twist until opening night. Despite this, upon a rewatch, eagle-eyed viewers will note that the ending is actually more obvious than it seems. Verbal looks up to the lieutenant's coffee cup as he mentions Kobayashi by name for the first time. And throughout the rest of this quote-unquote confession, the criminal glances throughout the room before offering the next location-based improv cue. It's a small but noticeable detail planted throughout the performance, and one which definitely warrants repeat viewings for this crime classic. Now I want to know, what is your favourite movie twist of all time? Is it The Usual Suspects one or something else? You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 9. Blairs' Guilty Conscience, Unfriended. Throughout the runtime of 2014, surprisingly not terrible Unfriended, the MTV horror most notable for taking place entirely on a computer screen, we learn very little about protagonist Blair. She's presumably heartbroken by the loss of her former friend to suicide, and she's been cheating on one unlikable teen movie love interest with another more unlikable one. It's all fairly standard, barely bothering backstory really, which makes it all the more impressive that the film sneaks in a few choice instances hinting at Blair's beneath-the-surface guilt, the source of which is never revealed until the film's undeniably tense closing scenes. Blair was the one who uploaded the embarrassing party footage which led to a cyberbullying campaign so intense that her former friend Laura opted for suicide as a way out. Even before Laura's vengeful ghost begins picking off her friends, Blair begins typing the truth to her boyfriend, never sending it and sometimes never even fully writing out the message before changing her mind. And by the time the killings begin, she's quick to play innocent and lay blame at the feet of each of her friends in turn. Exactly what a coward close to admitting their guilt would resort to, I guess. Number 8. Lady Hideko's Seduction, The Handmaiden. This one is a little more subtle than most, so any viewers who manage to see through Park Chan-wook's twisty, steamy melodrama deserve all the applause unfairly offered to anyone who just pieced together Gone Girl's mystery early. There's 2 hours left in the film, of course she's not really dead. Anyway, moving on. An adaptation of Sarah Waters' Victorian mystery Fingersmith, The Handmaiden takes a few necessary and a few more liberal creative choices while bringing the story to the screen. Switching the setting and adding a more reprehensible antagonist, the film nonetheless maintains the twisted love triangle of the original novel. When pickpocket-turned-handmaiden Suk-hee is hired by conman Fujiwara, she believes her job is to convince the haughty Lady Hideko to marry him. Instead, Hideko is far from the innocent, guileless victim she plays, and is actually ensnaring Suk-hee in a complex scheme while collaborating with Fujiwara too. It's a shocking midway plot twist, until you rewatch the film and realize Hideko's entire innocent persona is clearly an act designed to fool Suk-hee and beguile her, with her calculated cluelessness leading Suk-hee to initiate a sexual awakening, which leaves Suk-hee enraptured with her and happy to collaborate in her plotting. Number 7. Marie's Mind, High Tension. Alexandra Aja's debut is a landmark in New French extremity, the boundary-breaking movement which led to the popularization of splatter horror in American horror cinema, and facilitated the death of the interminable sanitized post-Ring PG-13 remake trend. It's a taut, terrifying, and viciously violent slice of suspense cinema, peerless in its messy execution of an unsparingly brutal hunt and chase narrative, for the most part. Then comes the infamous twist ending, an unlikely swerve so poorly planted granted, it almost derails the entire film, and for some critics was enough reason to ignore its finer moments entirely. The hulking, faceless trucker meting out horrific fates to all he comes across is revealed to be a split personality of our hitherto hyper-resilient protagonist, Marie, a slight and quiet young French woman who looks more built to wield a withering look than a ton-weight bookcase. As silly as the twist definitely is, it is actually fairly well established throughout the film, with the cross-cutting of Marie and the trucker's masturbation scenes, albeit with very different endings. To mention that Marie has never had a boyfriend, and the early dream sequence in which she's depicted running from, yep, herself. Subtle stuff there, Alexandra. Well played. Number 6. Han's true intentions, Frozen. Frozen may be remembered for more than its killer twist, but for a Disney offering, the film packs a pretty stellar shock in its closing act. Benevolent love interest Prince Hans is revealed to be a power-hungry maniac, hell-bent on taking over Princess Anna's kingdom by marrying the innocent royal. He is quick to admit he never loved or cared for her once Anna becomes politically expedient, and the early promise of their romance is revealed to be a calculated ploy. Ice-cold Hans. Get it? Because it's never mind. On rewatching the much-loved 2013 smash, though, the twist is telegraphed in a subtle and clever touch early on, when Hans turns away from Anna as he proclaims he's always wanted a place of his own, a line which he says while ignoring her and opting instead to gesture at the massive kingdom she stands to inherit. Clever Hans, that is about as subtle as that Frozen pun that I just did before. Thank you very much for checking out this twisty video today, my friend, and if you're enjoying what you're watching, then hit that subscribe button down below for more What Culture stuff in your day. Now back to the video. Number 5. Everything Charles Does, A Beautiful Mind. A Beautiful Mind was met with mixed reviews upon its release, with critics roundly applauding its technical merits and the superb acting showcased throughout, but some dissenting voices questioning the film's depictions of mental illness. And yes, a couple of decades later, the film is a little clumsy compared to later works addressing similar territory, but the stellar performances from Russell Crowe as mathematician John Nash, and Paul Bettany, Ed Harris, and Vivian Cardone as figments of his imagination definitely make up for the film's shortcomings, and it's an important milestone in cinematic discussion of both mental instability and social attitudes towards sufferers. However, as successful as the film is in tricking viewers the first time around, the framing of Nash's delusions and his roommate Charles in particular makes the central conceit a lot more transparent upon another viewing. Dramatically tossing a desk through a stained glass window would probably provoke more than a raised eyebrow in the hallowed halls of an Ivy League institution, sure, but the more subtle and persistent clue is the framing of Charles, who is often only seen in empty doorways conveniently obscured from onlookers. Very clever indeed. Number 4. Marla's Frustration, Fight Club. Boasting a career best turn from Brad Pitt, David Fincher's Fight Club is an absolute classic, and its genius ending deserves the acclaim it still enjoys 25 years after its initial disappointment at the box office. The reveal that the nameless narrator and Tyler are the same person is foreshadowed by a handful of subtle celluloid scratches early on in the flick, which when freeze-framed reveal momentary glimpses of the imaginary anarchist friend. But you knew that one, right? And the more impressive foreshadowing comes at the level of character, specifically the frustration expressed by on and off love interest Marla Singer. Relying on a superb performance from the great Helena Bonham Carter, Fincher plants a few clues as to the protagonist's dual nature by having her complain about his mercurial personality, his insufferable tendency to think, act, and talk differently depending on the day, and his inconsistent commitment to their flirtations. Now it all makes sense. Number 3. Billy and Stu's Trip to the Video Store, Scream. Horror icon Wes Craven didn't just deliver a vicious blow to slasher movie cliches, and in the process a reviving jolt to the heart for the subgenre itself with 1996's Scream. The starry meta-horror also pulled off one of the cleverest killer reveals in the history of whodunits, with, spoiler alert obviously, both brooding boyfriend Billy and his immature slacker accomplice Stu being the ones behind the spate of grisly murders. The rule bending didn't just start there, of course, not after the still shocking opening scene killed off superstar Drew Barrymore, and it didn't end there either, with Sydney upending the final girl conventions by having sex and not only surviving, but dispatching both baddies with style. While some of the sequels are pretty solid, none of the uneven series could come close to the ingenuity of this literal killer combo, and it's a twist improved upon by repeat viewings, where it becomes obvious that everything provides blatant suspect number 1 Billy with an alibi. Not only that, but the scene wherein Billy and Stu team up to playfully interrogate Randy in the video store takes on a far more sinister tone when you realize the two are not messing with him for their amusement, but rather attempting to ensure he won't be able to uncover their plot. Number 2. The staff on the island, Shutter Island. Martin Scorsese took an unexpected dip into psychological thriller territory with 2010's Shutter Island. Centering around a typically superb turn from Leonardo DiCaprio, the film is an absolute thrill ride, a Hitchcock homage which keeps audiences bamboozled until its final frames. Of course, upon rewatching the flick, a lot of subtle early clues fall into place. Chief among these is the staff in the eponymous asylum's treatment of DiCaprio. The orderlies and doctors not only offer no deference to the officer, but listen to his theories with a combination of condescension, scorn, and outright threat. All of which adds up when you consider the fact that he's not actually an officer at all, but rather just another patient whose delusions they are sick of entertaining. I mean, he is just another patient, right? Number 1, you've got Red on You, The Sixth Sense. Ask most cynical viewers of The Sixth Sense and they'll tell you that the twist was obvious. After all, how could we have missed the fact that the only person that interacts with Bruce Willis's melancholic child therapist is the kid who can see ghosts? He's telling us right from the get-go what his secret is. But any reading like that is a little self-serving, and actually misses the even more obvious hints at Malcolm Crowe being a ghost. Because M. Night Shyamalan basically painted his scenes with handy visual clues. Throughout the film, whenever there's a ghostly presence, we're primed for it subconsciously with the use of red. Cole's jumper when he's locked in the cupboard with the ghost of the servant is red. So is the balloon he follows up there. So is his bedroom fort. And there are lots more besides, including indicators around Malcolm too. The doorknob he can't open is red. His wife's dress at their silent anniversary dinner is, yes, red. Hell, once you start looking for them, you simply will not miss them.